Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 645 based on novel. So let's start. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze from the heaven-trampling scene. The last thing he looked at was the vast sea between the Celestial Clan and Ancient Clan, mainly the 9 pillars that formed the door to the immemorial God realm. However, even with his cultivation level, he still could not clearly see the immemorial God realm. It was as if the immemorial God realm was far beyond Wang Lin's current abilities. Wang Lin gazed at the stormy sea, and after a long time, he closed his eyes. The moment he closed his eyes, his gaze disappeared from the immortal astral continent. When he opened his eyes, again he was still in this unknown place and on the huge second bridge. However, when he looked down, he found that although he was still on the second bridge, he was almost on the other side now. It was as if everything from before had taken place in the few moments it had taken him to cross the bridge. It was impossible to distinguish if it was a dream or reality. Looking at the heaven-trampling bridge, looking at the third, fourth, until the 9th bridge, and looking at the blurry image beyond the 9th bridge, he couldn't help but feel like it was all so far away. Even his heart felt distant, as if the bridges represented an unattainable peak that made anyone who looked at it want to stop. The moment this thought surfaced, it amplified infinitely until it filled Wang Lin's body. It was as if a voice was telling him to turn back and leave this place. To stop and not attempt to cross the remaining 7 bridges. Wang Lin stood at the edge of the second bridge. He only needed to take one step to walk down the second bridge to completely cross it. However, after a long time, he still seemed unable to take the last step. Time slowly passed for a long time. Wang Lin still stood there and calmly looked ahead. He let out a sigh as he raised his right foot and stepped past the second heaven-trampling bridge. Is it to question oneself? If one's heart were not strong, if one didn't have a heaven-defying will, if one didn't have the persistence to go on, perhaps they would have retreated on that step, Wang Lin murmured to himself as he walked toward the third bridge. The third bridge was very far and very close, but Wang Lin walked for 3 days and he still didn't arrive at the bridge. He walked for 3 more days and it was the same. 3 more days passed and the bridge still looked very far and very close. On the 9th day, Wang Lin stopped. After pondering for a moment, he suddenly looked up. His eyes revealed a strange gaze and then he slowly closed them. He didn't need to look with his divine sense or his eyes. He sealed his vision and divine sense so he wouldn't look at the direction or location of the third bridge. He then casually walked forward. He walked forward step by step, and on the 9th step, he heard the sound of birds chirping around him. The soft light seemed to penetrate his eyelids. He smelled the aroma of earth and also that familiar breath and aura. It was the smell of wood chips and the spiciness of tobacco. His steps stopped. Taishu, how is your studying? Taishu, you have to study well. Next year will be the county exam, whether you will have a future or not will depend on it. Don't end up like me, who is stuck in this village for life. Enough, you keep nagging him every day. I say our Taishu can definitely pass the exam. These were the voices of his father and mother. These voices seemed to cross thousands of years to reach Wang Lin's ears. They were so real and seemed to bring Wang Lin back to the quiet mountain village from thousands of years ago. Wang Lin silently stood there and listened to the voices of his father and mother. Tears unconsciously flowed down from his eyes. There was a voice echoing in his heart, telling him to open his eyes to look at his father and mother. However, at the same time, Wang Lin also knew that if he opened his eyes, he would stop on the third heaven-trampling bridge. The first bridge fused the law of the world into one's origin soul. The second bridge allowed one to get the view of heaven trampling but question whether their heart was strong enough. Wang Lin hadn't understood the question at the end of the second bridge at first and was hesitant, but now he understood. This third bridge was likely one's inner demons. If one's heart was determined and their life could flash by while their heart remained calm, then they would be able to walk past the third bridge. But once that person opened their eyes, they would need to face their inner demons, face their own life. As a result, the chances of passing the third bridge would infinitely decrease. The voices of his mother and father were still beside his ears as tears flowed down Wang Lin's face, and he didn't hesitate at all to open his eyes. Before him, he saw the familiar house, familiar yard, familiar table, and the familiar food on the table. He saw his father, who was emptying his pipe on the side. He saw his father's wrinkled face and stern eyes, but also the gentle affection behind those stern eyes. He saw his mother walk out with the freshly cooked food from the house. There were some white hairs on her head. There weren't many, and were mostly hidden by her black hair, but Wang Lin saw them. His mother might not have been beautiful to outsiders, but in Wang Lin's heart, his mother was the most beautiful woman and forever a shelter from the wind in his heart. Looking at his father and mother and the familiar scenes, although tears were flowing down, he smiled. He watched everything before him slowly dissipate into the void. He knew it was all fake, but he still had to take a look. When this scene broke, Wang Lin was still standing below the second bridge and was far from the third bridge. His father and mother were not cultivators, and mortals couldn't be resurrected. For them, the best place to be was the reincarnation cycle. However, Wang Lin's memories were eternal and he will not erase them, as they were more important than his life. If Wan had appeared, would I have opened my eyes even though I knew it was fake? But when father and mother appeared, even though I knew it was fake, I still opened my eyes, Wang Lin muttered to himself. Who decided that one must close their eyes when facing the memories of their past and ignore these memories while maintaining a firm heart to not be affected by one's inner demons? Who decided that one must have a firm Tao heart to pass the third bridge? Who determined this was the only method of crossing this bridge? Wang Lin's eyes lit up. Family, love, and friendship are the most important things in my life. Why do I need to close my eyes? I want to keep my eyes open and see it all. I will open up my Tao heart and accommodate everything. Wang Lin took a deep breath and walked forward again. After 9 steps, he saw his parents again, and after 9 more steps, he saw Mu Bingmai, Li Qianmai, and Li Muwen. 9 more steps and he saw Wang Ping. He saw the poor child pull his clothes and seriously asked him to cultivate. He wanted to accompany his father for life. He didn't want to leave this world and leave his father alone. If his father was going to be alone, he hoped that his presence would exist beside his father. Wang Lin saw Sichu Nan, Qing Shui, Dun Qian, the old vermilion bird, and a lot of people who had helped him. He looked at them with his eyes opened and walked forward. Big Head, Red Butterfly, Qing Shuang, Zhu Ryu, Qing Lin, and many more people. Wang Lin seemed to recall his entire life as these people appeared. Along the way, Wang Lin didn't control his emotions. He cried, smiled, felt pain, felt sadness. He continued to walk forward for a long time. He didn't know when he had stepped onto the third bridge, but when he arrived at the end of the third bridge, everything disappeared. He stood there and sighed. He looked back for a long time before he walked off the third bridge. The fourth bridge was far away, and even further away. The illusion at the end of the 9th bridge had become a bit more clear. Wang Lin still could not see through the fog, but he could vaguely tell that there were 2 people inside. Wang Lin walked forward with the memories he had just recalled and all the emotions he felt. A few days later, he arrived before the 4th heaven-trampling bridge. This bridge was even larger than the ones before it, like a huge behemoth in this space. A hint of pressure spread out shrouding the area. Wang Lin looked at this bridge, and after pondering a bit, he raised his foot. However, when his foot landed, it penetrated the bridge and stepped onto nothing. At the same time, the 4th bridge suddenly trembled before Wang Lin and turned into countless specks of light. The specks of light all rushed toward him and formed a giant vortex that devoured Wang Lin's figure. The moment Wang Lin was devoured, in the secret chamber in Prince Jidu's palace, Wang Lin suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were filled with confusion for a long time, and it lingered. His slaughter essence true body had fully integrated with his body and there was no longer an overlapping shadow. The ethereal essences were floating before him and the celestial emperor's soul was still surrounded by his soul fire. The secret chamber was silent. Only Wang Lin's slightly rough breathing slowly echoed. Trample the heavenly path, void extinction Tao, immortal soul, worshipped by all. I only crossed 3 of the 9 heaven-trampling bridges and stopped, Wang Lin took a deep breath and looked up. The confusion in his eyes dissipated and was replaced by determination. When Wang Lin opened his eyes inside the secret room, the figure covered in fog on top of the tower on Mount Jiu Dao let out a sigh. There are 400 years. At the Celestial Clan, the 72 souls had calmed down after howling and begging at the sky. However, only Grand Empyrean Zhu Di knew what had happened, and his heart was disturbed. He was cultivating, but he constantly looked at the sky with awe and longing in his eyes. In his entire life, he longed for that legendary realm, but he still could not take that step. The reason Grand Empyrean Jiu Dao is the strongest Grand Empyrean must be because he has taken that step. I don't know when I'll be able to as well. Zhu Di remained silent and he had a complicated expression for a long time before he let out a long sigh. On Mount Emperor, Izzy was standing at the top of the mountain in a white dress. Her clothes danced in the wind and there was hesitation and confusion in her eyes. During the previous divination, she felt a sense of familiarity. She hadn't told Zhu Di about this as even she felt like it was just an illusion. In the ancient clan, on Origin Mountain, outside the ancient Sha imperial capital, Grand Empyrean Song Qian's face was pale. He looked into the distance with a complicated gaze, and it was unknown what he was thinking. Tech. Teacher, Kai Man's hesitant voice came from behind him. Shut up for me. Song Qian didn't turn around and interrupted Kai Man's words. He didn't want to listen to anything right now. He had to think about whether the upheaval in the 36 countries was related to Wang Lin. Although he didn't think there was a connection, there was a small chance that it was Wang Lin. In the case, he would need to change his decision-making and thought process. Forget it, I'll go meet him and find out. A moment later, Song Qian's eyes lit up and he raised his right hand. As he pointed at the sky, a thunderous rumble echoed and power gathered from all sides. When the clouds scattered, a huge rift was torn open in the sky. A giant head came out of the rift. This head was green and had 2 horns. It was an ancient devil. Large amounts of black gas surrounded the ancient devil, and as it roared, 2 large claws came out of the rift. It tore the rift open even wider and its whole body walked out. Its body was 100,000 feet tall, and after it walked out, it let out a roar before kneeling down before Song Qian. Staring at the giant ancient devil before him, Song Qian's eyes lit up. His left hand touched his forehead and a ray of green light shot out toward the ancient devil and disappeared between its eyebrows. Song Qian sat down with his eyes closed, but the ancient devil's eyes revealed a monstrous light. It had a gloomy expression as it moved back into the rift and disappeared. The moment the ancient devil disappeared, Wang Lin let out a deep breath in the Luohua country. His eyes were filled with determination, and after he checked his body's cultivation level, he frowned a moment later. He couldn't tell what cultivation level he was at now. He had passed peak void turbulent but was not a Grand Empyrean yet. He felt like the so-called Grand Empyrean was half a step from his current state. This half step seemed very short but was actually a large gap that was very difficult to cross. Halfway into heaven trampling, Wang Lin rubbed his temples and he looked at the Celestial Emperor's soul he had been refining inside his soul fire for 100 years. The ancestral curse still remained and he had found it difficult to refine with his previous cultivation level. At this moment, his eyes lit up and his right hand reached toward the Celestial Emperor's soul. When he grabbed it, the soul fire around it disappeared, leaving only the soul. Looking at the soul, Wang Lin had a strange feeling. He had an illusion that he didn't need to use too much effort to easily remove the ancestral curse. This was naturally due to the fact that there wasn't much of the ancestral curse left. It had been shared by Zhu Di and the others, and he had been refining it for 100 years in his soul fire. However, even so, if it was before, he would have needed to refine it for 100 more years in his soul fire before he could expel it completely. With that strange gaze in his eyes, Wang Lin's left index finger penetrated the soul and touched the grey gas inside it. Wang Lin softly whispered, "Scatter." The moment he said this one word, distortion appeared inside the secret chamber and countless lines appeared around Wang Lin's left index finger. The lines entered the grey gas inside the Celestial Emperor's soul. This mass of grey gas trembled and then rapidly dissipated until none remained. After removing this small portion of the ancestral curse so easily, Wang Lin's eyes shined brightly. Now that the ancestral curse was gone, the Celestial Emperor's eyes trembled as if he was going to open his eyes. Wang Lin didn't do anything but watched the Celestial Emperor's soul open his eyes. After a moment of confusion, his gaze turned into viciousness and hatred. Wang Lin. A divine sense rushed toward Wang Lin, but to Wang Lin, this divine sense was insignificant. Seeing that Wang Lin wasn't affected at all, the Celestial Emperor was startled. The moment he felt startled, Wang Lin's right hand squeezed. With this, a powerful rushed into the Celestial Emperor's soul and, with a bang, the Celestial Emperor died completely. His soul turned into a mass and was about to dissipate. Wang Lin's eyes shined brightly and his left hand reached at the void. A giant head suddenly appeared inside the secret chamber. It was the Celestial Ancestor's head, and when it appeared, a dense, golden light scattered. This caused the world to change colors and filled the chamber with dense celestial energy. With the soul as a guide, fuse. Wang Lin waved his sleeve and the Celestial Emperor's soul split into 7 strands of gas that flew toward the Celestial Ancestor's head. These 7 strands of gas rushed toward the 7 orifices. Wang Lin suddenly stood up and walked out of the secret chamber for the first time in 100 years. He stood over the Celestial Ancestor's head and waved at the sky. A giant sun appeared behind the Celestial Ancestor's head. This sun was black and white, and it was only an outline rather than corporeal like a real Grand Empirean sun. With my previous cultivation level, I couldn't do it, but now I should be able to do it. With Lian Daoxuan's soul as a guide, I can fuse the Celestial Ancestor's head with my Grand Empirean sun. With it, my Grand Empirean sun will form completely. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and his hands formed seals. Green lights followed the 7 strands into the Celestial Ancestor's 7 orifices, causing the head to tremble. At this moment, the sky was dim and a powerful pressure descended, shrouding the area. Even if one was very far, they would feel it clearly. As Wang Lin continued to form seals, the Celestial Ancestor's head trembled violently and fine cracks appeared on it, spreading across the entire head. However, it showed no sign of breaking or melting. Wang Lin didn't make a sound as his hands formed seals and he opened his mouth to spit out a mouthful of green fire. The fire burned the Celestial Ancestor's head, then the head finally showed signs of melting. The moment it started melting, Wang Lin's black and white sun shrouded it. It shined brightly and began to rapidly absorb it. However, the speed at which the head was melting was slowing down, and as time passed, it showed signs of stopping. Indeed worthy of the Celestial Ancestor, who stepped past the 8th heaven trampling bridge. Even after being dead for so long, just his head is so difficult to refine, Wang Lin murmured. He thought about who could kill the Celestial Ancestor but found no clues. However, in the end, this is just a head. Wang Lin raised his right hand and reached at the void. The dim sky suddenly changed colors and countless fine lines appeared. Others couldn't see then, and only after becoming a Grand Empirean could one vaguely sense them. However, even Grand Empireans had touch on the tip of controlling these fine lines. Only after taking that step into the 1st heaven trampling bridge could one really extract them from the world and put them to use. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he muttered to himself, no wonder it is rumored that Grand Empirean Gu Dao could kill other Grand Empireans and that several Grand Empireans died by his hand in the Great War countless years ago. With this power to manipulate the world, it shouldn't be difficult to kill Grand Empireans. The Celestial Ancestor is indeed someone who walked past the 8th bridge. After his head is fused with my Grand Empirean sun, it will become a powerful aid and treasure. It was at this moment that a thunderous rumble echoed in the sky in the distance and a huge crack appeared. Large amounts of black gas spread out and a giant ancient devil walked out. However, just as the ancient devil walked out, it was startled. Song Qian's divine sense was inside the devil, and when he felt the strangeness here, his expression changed. He saw Wang Lin in the distance. Wang Lin completely ignored him and seemed to be grabbing countless fine lines in his hand. All the lines were wrapped around the head and then Wang Lin bit his tongue to spit out blood that fell on the lines and the head. At this moment, the Celestial Ancestor's head began to melt rapidly and was rapidly absorbed by Wang Lin's Grand Empirean sun. As the Grand Empyrean sun rapidly condensed, a third color, gold, appeared, controlling the law of the world. This, the ancient devil that just appeared let out a shriek of disbelief. Grand Empireans could explore the edge of the law of the world. With their powerful faith, they could borrow these laws to make things corporeal. The so-called creating something from nothing was this. However, it was simply turning the illusory into real. They could not grasp the laws and use them as they wished like Wang Lin. This was not borrowing, but a higher level of manipulation of the law of the world. Song Qian could not do this. In his memory, when he had gone to meet Grand Empyrean Gu Dao, he personally saw something similar. This is impossible. The ancient devil containing a hint of Song Qian's divine sense revealed a look of disbelief. He could not believe what he was seeing at all, that Wang Lin, who he considered not worthy of his concern, could control the law of the world after coming out of closed-door cultivation. The moment his ancient devil walked out from the rift, he was completely startled. His mind was completely blank and there was no thought other than Wang Lin reaching toward the sky and all the laws gathering. Wang Lin was not concerned about the appearance of the ancient devil, and he didn't even look at it. He focused on melting the celestial ancestor head before him. With his mouth full of blood and the law of the world, most of it had already melted. The parts that had melted were completely absorbed by his Grand Empyrean sun. The golden light became brighter and brighter and the three-colored Grand Empyrean sun released a strange light. The celestial ancestor's head shrank rapidly as golden light penetrated it. A moment later, only a small portion of the head remained. It no longer looked like a head, but a mass of golden light. As it became smaller and smaller, Wang Lin's three-colored Grand Empyrean sun rapidly became brighter and more solid. Once the head completely melted and the three-colored Grand Empyrean sun fully absorbed the head, it would become a real Grand Empyrean sun and Wang Lin would become a real Grand Empyrean. He would be the second strongest Grand Empyrean on the immortal astral continent after Grand Empyrean Gu Dao. In the distance, the ancient devil with Song Qian's divine sense gasped and recovered. He didn't want to believe what he was seeing, but reality was before him, so he had to believe it. At this moment, his heart trembled and he didn't hesitate to slowly retreat. Seeing Wang Lin ignore him, he retreated at the quickest speed back into the rift that he had arrogantly torn open. As a Grand Empyrean, he rarely did such a thing, feel timid before he even battled. Compared to how arrogantly he had arrived, his escaping figure was too much of a contrast. However, just as the ancient devil closed in on the rift and was about to enter it, a cold voice echoed across the world. "Are you just going to leave like that?" This voice caused the ancient devil containing Song Qian's divine sense to be startled and then move at full speed as if it had gone mad. However, just as the cold voice echoed, Wang Lin's cold gaze landed on the ancient devil. Fine lines appeared around the ancient devil and wrapped around the ancient devil's body. The ancient devil trembled and became motionless, as if it was frozen. Wang Lin had speculated a long time ago that the stop spell was related to the law of the world. With his current cultivation level, he no longer needed to form seals, just a gaze could make them appear. What was stopped by Wang Lin's gaze was not just the ancient devil, but also Song Qian's divine sense. The divine sense trembled and couldn't move at all. At the same time, far away, on Origin Mountain, Song Qian was sitting there, and he suddenly opened his eyes. His face was pale and contained a trace of fear. His divine sense had been frozen, and it almost affected his origin soul. "Open the origin array." Song Qian didn't hesitate to immediately let out a roar. As the roar echoed, all the powerful people that followed Song Qian were startled and quickly flew around to set up the formation. Teacher Kai Man didn't know what had happened, but seeing his teacher's gloomy expression, he felt a pressure and knew that something bad was going to happen. "Shut up. This lord don't want to be bothered right now. If not for your throne, how could I activate the origin array?" Song Qian turned around and looked at Chu Man with a cold gaze. "I have already done my best. If I fail, then you will not become the ancient emperor in 100 years, that Jidu will." Song Qian also felt anger. After he finished speaking, he flew into the sky and then reached down. The origin mountain trembled and a ray of light shot out. It was a giant war axe. This war axe was covered in rust and was not beautiful. However, when Song Qian held it, a roar came from the axe and inexhaustible green souls flew out of it and surrounded Song Qian in a green light. This made Song Qian look very strange. As Song Qian prepared to go all out, in the Luohua country, Wang Lin let out a long howl at the sky. As he howled, the sky changed colors. The celestial ancestor head that had mostly melted and turned into a bright ball of golden light had begun its final stage of melting. It became smaller and smaller. A moment later, it was only the size of a fist. The Grand Empyrean Sun became even more solid than the Grand Empyrean Suns of Grand Empyreans. Staring at the fist-sized golden light, Wang Lin's eyes shined brightly. He raised his right hand and reached at the palace below. Wang Lin's life and death, karma, and true and false essences flew out from the secret chamber and into his body. At this moment, when all his essences had returned to him, a thunderous rumble echoed inside his body. His hair moved without any wind and he released a shocking aura. Wang Lin looked at the melting celestial ancestor's head and spat out a mouthful of essence aura. This aura was invisible and only Wang Lin himself could feel it. The moment this aura touched the head suddenly trembled and melted. It melted completely and was completely absorbed by Wang Lin's three-colored sun. After absorbing the head, the sun became a corporeal object. Wang Lin completed the Grand Empyrean Sun and sent it into the sky of the immortal astral continent so it could become the 10th sun. This was a symbol of him truly becoming a Grand Empyrean. Before, Wang Lin could not be considered a true Grand Empyrean. The moment his Grand Empyrean Sun formed completely, Wang Lin raised his head and looked at the sky. This three-colored Grand Empyrean Sun seemed to be held up and slowly rose up to the sky. Looking at his own Grand Empyrean Sun rush toward the highest place in the sky, Wang Lin suddenly recalled when a trace of his divine sense entered the immortal astral continent and saw the strange scene of 9 suns in the sky. Grand Empyrean, Wang Lin muttered as he looked at his own Grand Empyrean Sun releasing a powerful burst of three-colored light. At this moment, when Wang Lin raised his own Grand Empyrean Sun into the sky, it affected the Grand Empyrean Suns of all the other Grand Empyreans. In the Celestial Clan, in the Dao Yi sect, the Northern Continent, the Purple Yang sect, and Mount Emperor, each respective Grand Empyrean Sun rose up and shined brightly. Shortly after, inside the ancestral city, a golden sun appeared, forming the 5th sun of the Celestial Clan. At the same time, in the ancient clan, Xian Luo's Grand Empyrean Sun appeared over the place where he was in closed-door cultivation. In the ancient Jew, the extremely mysterious Grand Empyrean there also had his Grand Empyrean Sun appear in the sky. And Song Qian's Grand Empyrean Sun also appeared without his control and flew into the sky. The last to appear was Grand Empyrean Gu Dao's Grand Empyrean Sun. At this moment, 10 suns suddenly appeared above the immortal astral continent. The remaining 9 Grand Empyrean Suns hadn't appeared because their owners wanted them to, they had been attracted by Wang Lin's Grand Empyrean Sun. No Grand Empyrean was surprised by this. Aside from when the Celestial Emperor inherited their Grand Empyrean power, this was a heavenly sign that appeared whenever someone became a Grand Empyrean. And at this time, because all the Grand Empyrean Suns were in the sky, the energy in the immortal astral continent surged. This allowed the other Grand Empyreans to clearly feel the aura of the new Grand Empyrean. There were a clear size difference in the 10 suns. The largest was Grand Empyrean Gu Dao's. His Grand Empyrean Sun was almost equivalent to the total of all the other 8 suns, excluding Wang Lin's 3-colored sun. The second largest was Wang Lin's 3-colored sun. Although not as large as Grand Empyrean Gu Dao's, it was nearly half its size. It radiated light no weaker than Grand Empyrean Gu Dao's sun. Godfather. Grand Empyrean, in the Luohua country, Prince Jidu revealed never-before-seen excitement and laughed out loud. This video will end here.